And welcome back to the Four Quarter Talk. I'm your host, Big Duke, all fight, no smoke. Listen up, guys. Today we're going to talk about a topic. We got Kiara back in the building. We're going to talk about mental health. And we're going to talk about a topic that, to be honest with you, I'm not that privy to. So I'm going to lean on her heavily for this topic. It's about eating disorders and all that good stuff. As far as I know, at least when I was growing up, eating disorders, being anorexia and all that stuff, bulimia was just like just person just wanted to be skinny. They just wanted to be slim. But I mean, that's just my ignorance to the topic. So we all know that right there go a little bit deeper than that right there. So with that being said, I want to introduce my guest, Kiara. How you doing, love?
Hello, I'm doing well. It's good to be here.
Good. Tell everybody who you are and what you're about, what you represent.
Yeah, so hello, everyone. My name is Kiara. I am a licensed mental health counselor, associate professional counselor, national certified counselor, and I work in the mental health field. I see individuals with our topic today: disordered eating, depression, anxiety, trauma. The list goes on. I see children, adolescents, teenagers, adults, and I am just glad to be here today to shed some light and some information about eating disorders and disordered eating, and some resources out there for individuals who feel they may be struggling, or if you know someone struggling, then some resources out there to help not only yourself or your loved ones get help.
Cool. So like I said, Kiara, in the opening, as far as like, at least my upbringing, that when somebody was speaking about, being anorexic or, being bulimic and all that good stuff, they just wanted to be slim. They just want to be, slim and stuff like that. And that's another one that I was, doing my research on. It was called pica, something like that.
Pica.
Pica, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Just eating stuff that's not really food related and all that good stuff. But kids do that a lot. Eat paste and shit like that, super glue, and you know what I'm saying, and Elmer's glue. You know what I'm saying? So it's just some of the stuff that I'm just not privy to. So I would definitely lean on you, heavily when it comes to this topic right here. So tell the people, as far as like you concerned, like what you see in your field and your profession, that you see the most common trend and stuff like that. And actually, how do you actually start this topic up? How do you birth this topic up in your office?
So there isn't a common strand. That's kind of my hesitation here, is because disordered eating looks different in a lot of people. There are things that we tend to look for, or things that we tend to talk about. So like a preoccupation with food. So someone who's constantly thinking of food, and that thought is constantly on their mind, some rumination thoughts, if you will, or worry thoughts around food. So I'm worried about not only what I'm eating right now, but I'm worried about what I'm going to be eating later. So some of those things you may see or hear individuals, like you were saying, sorry, I just seen the question pop up. So you may see things with like adolescents. A lot of times you may see adolescents who are afraid of getting bigger, or just like you were saying, that weight stigma. A lot of time there's a lot of body image and weight stigma around it. So there is also things where you will see people may just start off in a way that, was harmless. I just started off with a simple diet. I just wanted to lose some weight, and then it kind of got out of hand. Sometimes you may see, even people don't really talk about it, but it's starting to become more of a topic in the sports world, and people's kind of occupation or preoccupation with food around their diets when it comes to, I need to make sure I bulk up. You hear that a lot in the sports world, those types of things. So just sometimes looking at habits, looking at particular thoughts, or the things that people say, sometimes the fears around weight and weight stigma, those are all things that really put into it. And then unfortunately, we live in a society that's really focused on body image, and it's really focused on how you look. And so that also becomes a big topic as well, is because, on social media, you see all these people and they look this way, and I should look that way too. And so that also becomes a really big issue and a big topic as well.
Oh, with that being said, salute everybody that's coming big O in the building. What's good, fam? Pretty feisty black magic, Rain Woman, straight class right there. If you can address that question right there, do you see pica in black people?
Yeah, so I am looking through my diagnosis book right now, and honestly, I have not. However, with that, it really is. It really is an individual case by case thing. I personally have not seen that in any of the individuals or clients that I've worked with. However, I know that it's out there. A lot of times, even within, looking through just my diagnosis book here, it talks about cultural differences. And so for some cultures, it may be to go into a spiritual setting or a medicinal purpose or social values, those types of things. It may be seen to eat a certain type of food or a certain type of item or something like that another culture may not deem appropriate. And so it really is a case by case situation. And I honestly, unfortunately, can't answer more to that right now. I will definitely look into it and I'll get it to you, Big Duke, and you can disseminate that information as it comes or what I find.
Well, and like I said, one thing I do know, Kiara, is that one thing, no matter what the mental health issue is or anything is, you got to get to the root first. You don't just start with the outward behavior. And then, what I'm saying, can you speak to that as far as that? And then I can get into the fact that we mostly know that anorexia and stuff like that is real big in modeling and stuff like that. Bulimia is in modeling and stuff like that. And then in some competitions, some sports, boxers have to cut weight. Mostly boxers, not too much in basketball and football and stuff like that, but mostly models and stuff like that. So can you answer that as far as like getting to the root of it and just looking at outward behavior?
Yeah, so there are different types of root behaviors, if you will. And so a lot of times when I talk about eating disorders and I go into like the education of disordered eating with people, I talk, the way I was trained is that we talk in there's three main things that we look at. So we look at the biological piece. So the genetics. Is this something that has been in your family before? Is this something that you have dealt with prior? Did your parents or did your mother or did their father or those types of things, did they deal with disordered eating? And was that any of that in your family growing up? Then we see the psychological piece. So there's different personality traits we look at. So are there traits like rigid, and do you fall into a routine, or do you fall into more of like a perfectionistic type of personality traits, those types of things? Are you more prone to engage in impulsive like behaviors? Or are you more likely to internalize and be highly reactive to situations? All these things kind of pull into whether or not a person may or may not develop a eating disorder. And then there's also the social piece. And so what is your environment? How is your environment influencing that? So again, if you are a model per se, or an actor or an actress, and you're constantly in the light and you're being scrutinized for the way you look. Oh no, you have to look this way in order to get this role, or in order to fit into this designer's look that they're going for this, fall 2021, you have to look this way. And the thing about that is that it becomes very limiting, because then that's when those internalized beliefs start to come on. So, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I am fat. Oh, I, have to look thin, all these things. And so being able to start to recognize that sometimes society also then plays into those internalized beliefs that we see. So the shame, the guilt when it comes to the disordered eating. And the hard part about that is that, again, there's no there's no linear path to developing an eating disorder. And so it's almost like there's just a storm of all these things that are happening that can contribute to someone developing that type of mental health issue.
Like a random woman, she said, I think, or eating information disorders, kind of lost with that, ever considered to be a form of self-harm? In other words, like, can people harm themselves dealing with eating disorders and stuff like that? Have you noticed that in your field?
Absolutely. So it depends on the clinician and how they define self-harm. But the reality is that eating disorders are a form of self-harm, because eating disorders actually are one of the it's one of the top mental disorders that has a high mortality rate. And so what I mean by that is that when it comes to eating disorders, you're not only dealing with the mental side of it. And so, you may have suicidal ideations and those types of things that come along with other disorders, as well as eating disorders. But then also there is an impact on your body. And
Right.
So sometimes what you'll see with things like anorexia is that you'll see people's hearts stop because their hearts are working so hard to support their bodies. And because they do not have any muscle mass, because they're going to that place of starvation, then and our heart is a muscle, then the heart stops because it does not have the nutrients it needs, all these things. And so it's a very high mortality rate. And so when we talk about support later on here, you'll see that honestly what I truly recommend for people when they have disordered eating is that they go get professional help, because it is such a it's not something that a lot of people can deal with on their own, unfortunately, because it's a mentality that people fall into, and it's a habit, and then it just becomes a very vicious cycle that can become very dangerous.
Absolutely. Guys, thanks everybody for stopping in the building. My girl, Pretty Feisty Black Magic, my man, this home team, this Beat Your Better, straight class, random woman, everybody else in the building, everybody else watching from a bird's eye view. Again, guys, we're going to get into the PowerPoint presentation. Again, guys, these PowerPoints take time and they take effort to put into motion. So if you deem this information is valid, please go ahead and support the channel, man. My Cash App is Train Harder 2424. You know what I'm saying? Don't drop your coins on that. So with that being said, Kiara, let's go ahead and get into the PowerPoint presentation because we want to hear something like that. Let me share my screen here. Share screen. Put this down. Do that. Okay. So Kiara, at this point, I'll let you take lead. I may stop you and ask some questions. Tell me, you navigate me and let me know. Video.
Yep. So absolutely. So
all right, check this out. Let's go.
Everything in my life felt out of
control. Turn it up, so.
Before you start it really quickly, so just for everyone, this is just general information on the three main types of disordered eating that we'll talk about, but also what the video talks about. And then as this is going through, like you were saying, Big Duke will stop it and talk about it and those types of things.
Okay. All right. I had to turn it up a little bit. All right. Hold on a second. I actually got to. I'm going to redo it again. Hold on a second. I'm going to redo it. Hold on.
Control, except my eating.
Let me reboot it up again. Hold on a second. That's cool. All
right. Everything in my life felt out of control. Except my Then I felt guilty, rid of it.
Body weight each become a source of experience and behaviors. I know is my own anorexia below. And a large amount, they feel their desire. Cholesterol.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I wanted to touch on the bulimic part, but you can go ahead on and stop if you want. That's the part I want to touch on after the video. So if you got anything you want to add between now and then feel free. Go ahead.
Yes. So
And try to hide their binging.
when it comes to, yeah, I don't know. So sorry, it was really choppy on my end. So in the beginning, it was talking about just like things that you hear people say when it comes to the disordered eating. So you may hear someone say like they feel out of control in their life and they feel like they are in control when it comes to their eating. Or sometimes it may be that they feel out of control when they're eating, or sometimes it may feel like that people around them are saying, hey, you look really good, or you should, lose some weight, or it's they're saying all these things. And what happens is kind of what I was saying earlier, is that those things start to become internalized beliefs. And so people internalize those things. And so, oh, well, if these people are saying this about me, then I should lose weight. Or if these people are saying this about me, or even sometimes people may not say anything, but in the minds of individuals who have disordered eating, it may be that I look really big today, and then I need to restrict my food intake. And so it goes into then talk about the again, the three main types of eating disorders that people usually hear about. So anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and then binge eating disorder. And so with each of those, they each have their own criteria. And so with anorexia, you usually tend to see that people are at a significantly low body weight. That is not necessarily the main criteria anymore, but that's usually what you see. Anorexia nervosa is also characterized by people who restrict their food intake. So restricting the things that they eat. They may restrict their calories, all these things that you hear people say. And then there's also the piece with anorexia nervosa. The big thing is an intense fear of gaining weight or becoming fat. And so that's usually what you see with anorexia. I'm just going to go through them because it seems that some people could not hear the video. And so then you do have binge eating disorder, which again is the other main type that you may see. So with binge eating disorder, it's a period, it's categorized by a period of time in which someone may eat a larger amount of food than what's considered normal at that time. And so what that means is that if someone is eating, I kind of take it back in the most understandable example that people understand is Thanksgiving. So a lot of times on Thanksgiving, people engage in overeating, period, because it's Thanksgiving, and that is kind of the way that society has built Thanksgiving up.
Kiara, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Kiara.
I can hear you.
Kiara, you borging a little bit. Your mic, your internet is borging a little bit. Can you hear me? Yeah, you borging a little bit on me. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe want to try to come back in. Go ahead and come back in if you can. All right, try to go ahead and come back in. All right, yeah. So, guys, the thing I want to know is, those who grew up like me, this wasn't a thing I was going to ask her coming up next, is that what populate her office most? More white people or black people? Because I knew me growing up, there was no such thing as being anorexic or bulimic. Mom or dad had to put food on the table. You had to eat that. You know what I'm saying? So it was one of those things where there's no throwing away the food or going to the restroom to throw it up. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I want to ask her. Kiara, can you talk now?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. That's better.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you before you had worked out. I want to ask you, like, what populate your office the most? More white people or is it more black people? Because, like I said, when I was growing up, coming through the ranks, there was no such thing as being bulimic or anorexic because, mom and dad was struggling already to put food on the table, and to sit there and regurgitate that back up was, that was an afterthought.
Yeah. So, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you good.
All right. So when it comes to demographics, honestly, there is no demographic when it comes to disordered eating. And so what I mean by that is that I honestly see all races. I see all genders. And I think that is where, again, the societal views and perceptions of disordered eating comes in, is because, like you were saying, okay, as a kid, we may not have had money for food. And also if we did, then what we would call compensating it, or purging, which is another word for vomiting, or, over exercising, those types of things, then it was kind of taboo. And the reality is that people were doing it. They just weren't talking about it. And I think now it's becoming more of a conversation of people are starting to talk about it.
Thanks. We probably try to pull this up here on the side. Let's see what we can get here. We're going to pull it up. Let me do it again. Because I want to get into the types as well. Let me see. Can you see this? We're going to be done with the video. Let's get into the types. Pull this up. All right. So go ahead and jump on the types right there. You know what I'm saying? If you don't mind, Kiara.
Yeah. So Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, you good. You good to go.
Okay. Alrighty. So with anorexia nervosa, this is kind of what I was talking about earlier. So you have a intense fear of gaining weight or becoming fat. And so this is then where you see that significant low weight for people, which is then that experience that, oh, kind of in the picture, like, all right, when I look in the mirror, I see that I look larger than my body actually does. Or you see that sometimes people will fixate on a particular part of their body. And when I say fixate, I mean become hyper focused on that part of their body. And so then that is where you will see what we call restricting behaviors. And so restricting is lowering caloric intake or energy intake that then influence that significant low body weight. So if I'm not eating, then my body's not going to be able to gain the energy and the weight that it needs to. And so that's usually where you see what you see in anorexia nervosa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right, then we have bulimia nervosa. So bulimia is where, actually, I'm going to go to binge first because it'll be easier for me to circle back to bulimia. So binge eating is where you see an episode that is someone is eating a significant or a larger amount of food than what is typical for a meal. And so what I mean for that is that if you are, having dinner and someone may engage in overeating behaviors. I usually use the example of Thanksgiving. So binge eating is if someone were to eat as though it were Thanksgiving every single meal, or not every meal, but every day they're engaging, or multiple times a week they're engaging in Thanksgiving like eating. And so most people on Thanksgiving, because of society and because of family and all of these other things, again, our social influences, most people overeat on Thanksgiving. But the reality is that when it comes to binge eating, sometimes it is that people are eating they're eating in secrecy. So people don't know that, I'm binging when everyone goes to bed at night. They're eating rapidly, and then they're eating past that point of fullness.
Let me ask you this: with binge eating, is that a direct link to something like my 600-pound life? You know what I'm saying? Just eating, you know what I'm saying, like you said, eating every other day or something like that, every other meal, like his Thanksgiving, is because that's what made me think about that.
So on my 600-pound life, you do see characteristics of binge eating disorder, absolutely. But then there's also things where sometimes people don't engage in the necessary things to help regulate that in their bodies, and so they're engaging then in overeating, and they're not engaging in mindful movement. And so when I say mindful movement, I mean things like not having a sedentary lifestyle. So having a sedentary lifestyle also impacts it. So being able to, maybe not go and exercise for 30 minutes every day, but maybe just saying, all right, I'm going to walk to my car instead, and I'm going to park further back in the parking lot when I go to the grocery store, those types of things. And so being able to also see with binge eating, you'll see that sometimes people will eat even when they're not hungry. And sometimes that happens because, let's say that you went to lunch with someone and then another friend's like, hey, let's go get dinner. And you're like, oh, I'm not really that hungry. But then during that time of dinner, you're still eating past the point of fullness. And so now you are uncomfortably full because you went to dinner and you didn't kind of, what I like to say, check in with yourself. And so, all right, I'm not really that hungry. Maybe I'll eat a little bit and take some home. A lot of times with binge eating, sometimes people feel like they can't leave food on their plates. And that goes back to, what you were kind of asking earlier, things that maybe they were taught in the household. It's bad to leave food on your plate. If you leave food on your plate, then there's something wrong with you, or there's other starving people out there and you're not grateful for what you have. All these things that sometimes parents say to children that can ultimately sometimes be unhelpful in the long run.
But that's what I was saying too, and that's a direct link to what some of the stuff that me and my man Bruce Goes be talking about all the time. When you guys eat, you should eat till you're satisfied, not till you're full. Mm-hmm. But again, growing up, you know what I'm saying, it was like you said, eat everything on the plate. You know what I'm saying? But you know, as you evolve and stuff like that, as I mean, now a parent myself, that's not always the rule. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You just can't force a kid to eat everything on their plate if they're full. But mm-hmm. It was one of those things from an economic standpoint that, you know, mom and dad, they sit there and feel like they put all that effort and money and time into cooking that meal. So they want you to eat everything on that plate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So again, just even now as an adult, now again, you guys trying to lower your caloric intake and you trying to sit there and you got a goal in mind. Again, your mindset should be, okay, cool. I'm satisfied. Okay, cool. Put it down, push it away, whatever. And then again, too, it's not all about solid. You can actually get your calories from a liquid substance as well. So that's not always the case. So again, you can go ahead, Kiara, I want to touch on bulimic in a minute. I'm going to show you that.
Yeah. And so then with binge eating, also you see a lack of control. And so that then takes me into bulimia nervosa. So bulimia nervosa is episodes of binge eating, and then it's characterized also. So you see that eating a large amount in a discrete or a certain period of time. So eating a larger amount in a certain period of time, and then a lack of control. With bulimia, also, you see something that's called compensatory behavior. So compensatory behaviors are basically being able to do things that will compensate or make up for what you just ate. And so that includes things like vomiting or purging. That includes things like taking diet pills or misusing medications, those types of things, fasting, engaging in excessive exercising. So, I ate this amount of food, I ate this many calories, I have to then work out for this amount of time. I have to burn this many calories. And so that is then how we categorize bulimia nervosa. With bulimia, it's also a lot more challenging to see sometimes as a individual in the field of eating disorders if you do not have a lot of training, because what happens is that these individuals don't then have that significant low body weight sometimes like a person with anorexia might. And then also they may not be typically in a larger body type, like you may see even in the picture here with binge eating disorder. And also with binge eating disorder, you don't always see a larger body type. And then the same thing with anorexia, you don't always see a smaller body type.
And also, guys, Kiara, if you don't mind, I'm running 2 monitors. I got the PowerPoint on both monitors. So if you see a question in the chat, then go ahead and address and stuff like that, because I can't see the chat right now. So you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Let me scroll back here. You said you had a question about bulimia.
Yeah, I'll wait till you finish this right here, then I'll come back to it. I'm going to circle back to it. I want you to get this off right here, and then I'll come back to it.
Okay, so go into the other two?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, all righty. And so then with avoidant restrictive food intake disorder and or what is also known as ARFID, with ARFID, what you will typically see is that ARFID is something that you usually see in children, honestly. So this is where you may see a person who has avoidance-based characteristics of food because of the sensories that they receive from that. And so then ARFID goes into like nutritional deficiency and weight loss and all these other things because they're not getting the proper nutrients because of maybe there was a experience that happened with a particular food. And now the individual, it could be a child, it could be an adult, anybody, they are then afraid or they are then avoiding that particular food. So usually with ARFID, it is based off of a a sensory characteristic and or concern about if I eat this food, then this thing will happen. Those types of things. And then with pica, you see individuals who eat things that are not food or non-nutritive substances. And so they are eating things that are like cotton balls. Sometimes it's things that you may hear or see. Sometimes people, I was watching a show a while ago and someone was eating like the cushion out of their couch. Those types of things are what you see with pica usually. And then we have a question in the chat that says, do people with eating disorders eat more unhealthy foods when they binge? Yes, typically. So when people are binging, they are usually binging on things that they feel is the things that they feel are the things that they can't have. So things like sweets, things like cakes, things like chips, those types of things. And then usually people will eat those things in discreet. So, my spouse doesn't want me eating sweets. I'm going to get them in my car on my way home from work, and I'm just going to eat all the sweets that I can have. Or sometimes at night, okay, I'm going to eat them at night when I'm by myself. No one can judge me for the amount of insert food item that I eat here.
I want to touch on this, Kiara, and then I want to get to the chat. I see some good stuff in the chat. Also, I know Beach she got a kid that got some Olympic experience and stuff like that. I want to ask her how she dealt with that. But I want to ask you, Kiara, and I want to say this. I had a client who was a model, and she used to do she was bulimic.
Okay.
But what she didn't realize was that, being bulimic, it can damage, I don't want to get into the details of it, but it can damage your GI tract. If those who don't know what GI that's your gastrointestinal tract. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened is repeated vomiting weaken the muscles that support food that you're supposed to be keeping in your stomach. You know what I'm saying? So many people have that. Bulimic also suffer from acid reflux. So I'm saying, so that's one of the things about, these disorders right here that you got to be mindful of. In addition, they can damage your throat to the stomach acid, you know what I'm saying? Because when the vomit come up, it irritates the tissue lining in the esophagus. So that's when you see a lot of times people sitting there saying when they vomit, they throat is hurting because that acid is coming up. That method right there, because keep in mind, dealing with the gastrointestinal tract, digestion starts as soon as you put something in your mouth, it don't matter what it is, that's when the digestion process starts. So if you're bulimic, and she was a bulimic as well, she was a supermodel up in New York. I'm not going to tell her name, very well known. But what happened was, it was times where she used to eat, and then she said, I got to go to the restaurant real quick. And then I remember she was talking to me a couple of times, and you can actually smell it. You can smell, what she just, regurgitated, came back up. You can smell it on her breath. So again, guys, be mindful of this stuff right here. If you need help, get help. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Kiara. That's what I want to add to that.
Yeah, no, I would say that that's a great segue into the next piece of just signs and symptoms. And so a lot of times, even as you were just talking, with the bulimic piece, with things like anorexia, with things like binge eating, this is why kind of what I was saying earlier was that there's such a physical aspect to eating disorders that a lot of times people don't recognize or people don't talk about, because it's already such a physical disorder. The person is already so consumed with their body and the way that they look and how they've been perceived and what they think about themselves, that it becomes a really tough time, because then now I have to talk to this person about what's happening on the inside of their bodies when they do this. With bulimia, actually, what you'll see is that a lot of times as individuals who work in the field of eating disorders, the way that we work to train is we oftentimes go to things like healthcare providers. So we try to get in and talk and educate dentists, and we try to get in and try to talk and educate doctors and those types of things, medical doctors, because when it comes to bulimia, like you were saying, dentists can recognize that a lot quicker because they can see inside of the mouth. They can see the decaying teeth. They can see the acid and the burns in the mouth from vomiting and purging, those types of things. With doctors, with doctors, it is all right, well, what's this person's body weight? And then we try to talk to doctors and physicians about making sure you're not saying things that are unhelpful, because then you're triggering that person to engage in behaviors that are not helpful. So just being able to recognize that with eating disorders and disordered eating, the goal is to not shame people, and it's to help them regain the confidence in themselves, or to just even figure out what confidence in themselves looks like.
Cool. Let's pull up the next one. Here. Let me share this. Pull this up. You guys see that?
Yep.
All right, cool.
All right. So here it talks about just different signs and symptoms. And so dieting, a lot of times dieting is a big part of people's lives, and it's a big part of society. And so when it comes to dieting, the goal is to help people to learn how to, and we've talked about this a little bit on here, is to not engage in dieting, but to gain its sustainability. And so a lot of times with diets, it is the fact of like, if you do this thing, then you will lose a X amount of weight in a short amount of time. But the realization is that dieting is not sustainable, because it's not going to be something that you can continue to do for multiple years or for a very long period of time and sustain a healthy amount of weight. So we want to get people to a place where they can sustain their eating patterns and habits. Another thing is discomfort of eating in front of other people, skipping meals. Those are signs and symptoms. Restricting certain things. So if you hear friends that are saying like, oh, well, a big diet is like keto, or I'm trying to cut out sugars. I'm trying to do all these other things that they say they're doing, and they're not doing it with either a dietitian or a doctor's observations, and they're not doing it because there is a medical concern that comes with those types of things, then that could be a sign that they may be engaging in disorder type eating. Physical things. So again, weight fluctuations, constipation is a really big one. So if your body is not getting the proper nutrients that it needs, and it's not doing so regularly, your body will hold in everything that it can get. And it's then not going to let those things go and let it out. And so that's where you see things like constipation. Missed periods is a really big one for women. And so for women, if you are not eating properly, again, your body is not going to do the things that it needs to do in order to make sure that your body is properly being taken care of. And so a lot of times you will then sorry, I just seen your 21 foods are making you smell bad. And then you see so then you have missed periods a lot of times. So that's a really big sign that your body's not getting the proper nutrients that it needs. Those types of things.
I got that from a man, King Wage. He said when folks, when folks have bad food consumption, you can smell it coming through their pores, and he is 100% accurate on that. I was going to try to pull up a slide on that, but it wouldn't let me pull it up. But he's 100% accurate on that right there, because the more trans fats, guys, again, and me and my brother Bruce Goes, we talk about this all the time, guys. The more trans fats, saturated fats that you bring into your system, again, all that's going to do is clog the arteries and stuff like that. Again, you're not going to be able to process that food. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a hard road processing that food, getting it through your system. That's why your bowels smell so awful. Again, not saying they're supposed to smell like roses and all that good stuff, but at the same time, that's why it's like, yo, you got to use the whole damn can of air freshener, all that, and incense. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we try to tell you guys, we all know about the bad fats, the trans fats, the saturated fats, but we know very little about the good fats, the monounsaturated fats, the polyunsaturated fats, and stuff like that. So be mindful of that right there, because all this stuff right here, it ties in. And that's the one reason why we're doing this show today, guys, because, you know, this stuff ties in to exactly what we be doing on the fitness corner. Go ahead, Kiara, go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, no, I don't really have anything else with this slide. Again, being able to understand that, like, there are different signs and symptoms for everyone. And there are also then ways to get help. So what I was saying earlier was that when it comes to getting help and support, the thing that I really talk to people about is that I tell them that they need to get help professionally. And what I mean by that is, it's not to say that you can't help your friend if they are struggling with disordered eating. And it's not to say that you can't help yourself if you're struggling with disordered eating. And the reality is that if you are struggling with disordered eating, you got that way by trying to help yourself, or your friend got that way by trying to help themselves. And so the reality is that because disordered eating can be very dangerous at times, though we want to be able to bring in professionals who are trained in helping other people. And so I talk to people about something called a multidisciplinary team. And so that means being able to have things like mental health clinicians or licensed social workers, dietitians, nurse practitioners. You want to be able, or doctors, those types of things, because you want to be able to find people that will help to support you on your journey and help to know, all right, you're struggling with this. All right, are you okay with individual therapy right now? Do you need to enter into family therapy? Are you at a dangerous place within your eating disorder that maybe you need to go to a treatment facility? And so being able to recognize that sometimes there are things that, because eating disorders can be a lot about control, being able to recognize that the first thing is that I have to recognize that I cannot control this. And so I have to be willing to get the help and seek the assistance that I need. There's a question here that says, are eating disorders chronic, treatable, or can they be cured? So when it comes to eating disorders, yes, they can be managed in an appropriate way. And the reason I say managed is that because the reality is that the voices are still going to be there. And what I mean by that is the negative voices that are in people's heads when it comes to, oh, you look this way. Oh, this isn't something that you should be eating right now. And so it's about being able to, one, lower those voices and stop listening to those voices and get to a point where you can get to a place of what we call recovery. So recovery is about being able to no longer allow the disordered eating and the negative thoughts and the unhelpful or negative behaviors, those types of things, to continue to impact someone. And that's really the goal. And being able to recognize that sometimes things can be what we would call triggered. Again, so I've been doing really well. I've been eating my meals, and then maybe I had a really busy day at work and I skipped lunch. And so, okay, how can I make sure that I get the proper nutrients that I need later in the day? And I don't continue to engage in behaviors that are making me skip meals or restricting food again, and those types of things.
Let me add to that what Bruce said about the treatable, you know what I'm saying? Is it medication involved, or is it more a holistic approach to this treatment? Because a lot of people, they kind of like, you know, they want to veer away from the medication to being medicated, or is it more a natural approach to the treatment?
Yeah, so it can be both. So there is medication that can be helpful, and again, it just depends on where a person is in their journey towards what we call recovery again. And so it can also be a holistic approach. It also depends on who's on your team. So when we talk about that multidisciplinary team, do you have people on your team that are willing to work with you and do a holistic approach? Or do you have people that are willing to work with you and say, okay, you don't want to be on medication, then do you need to go to treatment right now? Or, what is it that you can do to help you to feel supported in those types of things? Someone said that it sounds much like drug and alcohol addiction, and it really is kind of similar. The difference is that when it comes to recovery for drug and alcohol versus recovery for eating disorders, times, depending on who you're talking to, when you relapse in your drug or alcohol addiction, then it is believed that you're back at square one. And when it comes to relapse in eating disorders, you're not back at square one. You are further than you were when you first started this journey. And so it's about being able to continue to step forward and move forward in that journey towards recovery.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's my sister Beach gonna come up because I want to ask her a question and stuff like that as far as her experience, not with this, but how did she prevent it and what she did to actually, not go down that road of having with her kid having some of these disorders and stuff like that we're discussing today. So with that being said, I want to ask you, Kiara, like as far as like when you see somebody come in there, what is like some of the first wording that you hear as far as saying that I have an eating disorder? One of the ones that we showed earlier. What are some of the wording that you hear? Off top.
So some people who have been struggling for a long period of time will say, like, I'm struggling with, and they will name a particular disorder. And then some people will just say that they've been struggling with eating. And so they will say things like, I've noticed that my eating habits have been off, or I'm eating more than I usually do. Or some people will say, I'm not eating like I should be eating, and I don't know what to do about it. And so it will just depend on kind of what it is that they're struggling with. Some people will come in and say that they don't have a problem with eating, but they feel like they have adapted some maybe negative beliefs around eating in their body and just those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Welcome, Beach. Before you go in, I want to welcome my sister Beach to the building. Kiara, Beach has a kid that has some Olympic experience in herself. So I want to ask you, Beach, like, what did you do to help yourself and help your daughter out? Instead of going down these roads, all these little pitfalls and roadblocks right here to navigate your daughter to actually perform on the highest stages, which is the Olympic stages of that trials, all that good stuff. So what did you do? And welcome to the show.
Hey, Miss Kiara.
Hello.
We heard so many good things about you. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to meet you.
I don't know where he resurrected you from. She need to come around a lot.
Thank you.
This is informative because people don't talk about it. And especially, I hate to keep, in our community, it's still a serious thing. I don't know, it's not I will say you pick up habits. Someone else may have taught it, but once it's in the community, it's just in the community just because, people get desperate and desperate people do desperate things. But to answer the question that he asked, well, I had to use myself for one, and the reasoning for behind, like, originally going into sports was I wanted her to have a healthy body image. I could tell she was going to be okay. She was born at 10 pounds, 2 ounces. When we went in, she was 4. And at that point, she had already didn't have baby weight. She wasn't chunky. I could tell she had the body type that could go either way. I can't explain it. It's just a shape. It's just something you recognize between ballerinas, between dancers. You just can kind of recognize a body form, a body. You can just see it. I could see it. So I could tell them, like, oh, this could go either way. I could condition what you're gonna be working with later on. or I could do nothing. It just so happened to be she happened to be halfway decent, but even if she wasn't, she still would have been getting in that the exercise and the pulling of the muscles and learning how to train your body and form your body to kind of what you like to look like as an adult. That may seem superficial to a lot of people. That's not the only thing we worry about. Of course, your brains in school and music and math, and that's what sets precedent. But I'm a realist, and I understand nothing can tear down a woman more and stop him for her dream because she's got a poor, healthy body image. So that was a key factor in me saying, no, you need to have a healthy body image because you got to get out here in the public with confidence. So I hope that helped a little bit, Bruce, without me going
That's
into
good.
technical things, as far as what people are actually willing to do to keep their healthy body image. We didn't have to worry about that. Thanks to genetics, thanks to it's getting, hold up now, not willing to do that. Because I understand what's going on. I also would look at parents and I'm like, before I get on the floor to try to a little bit do team coach, mom coach, which moms they didn't want on there. And I always looked at the pattern as like, hold on, how come every mother in here has a daughter that they're pushing ridiculously to look like this? And you're sitting back shopping. I'm not trying to be rude, but you're pushing. Oh my gosh, you're like, you're not a good look for what she needs to be. So if this doesn't work out, what is she supposed to do? So it's like, it's a serious topic. Like mother, like daughter can be real. And I don't get how, trying to bypass, no one will notice as a mother, you're way in a dangerous area. This which just goes back into how people look at one parent. It's like, I guess if you had to choose an obese mom with the daughter in a sport and she's fit would be better than an obese mom who's raised a daughter to be obese, and now here it is where history's repeating history. So I guess I'll take the latter. If you feel like, okay, I don't want this to happen to my daughter, and I don't care about what's going on with me, which you shouldn't. You just care about yourself too. You need to live and be around to see her win, or him, or whatever the child is, whoever the child is. It's a tricky topic, you guys. It can get way too deep. This might have to be a series because girls are gonna find manipulative ways. When you got to weigh in and be a certain thing. I've been turned away from jobs before or something because ma'am, you a little too chunky, and I felt like this is chunky. Oh my gosh! So I had to like drop some weight, and I didn't think that was chunky at all. Like, how is this chunky? But compared to camera and what it looked like, yeah, I mean, that's what they said, and I did what was required the way I wanted to do it, and it worked. I didn't say it was healthy, and it surely didn't fit your PowerPoint presentations you be doing.
Mhm.
But I damn sure got down into that size. That's all I can say on that. I'm not going to glorify bad behavior. I'm just going to say it worked. Which is a model would say the same thing. Like, though, they don't have a choice. This is what you have to be. They're going to do some extreme things to find a way to live off of and not be hungry. I mean, I'm surprised, to be honest, y'all, how the body can live off of such little food, which goes back into me thinking again, I need all this food? So I'm going to be affected that way too. How much do we really need to survive? Because there's some people kind of surviving out here eating very, very minimum. There may be some side effects, like, but there ain't nothing that can't be fixed unless you just go so far extreme to where, like, with the anorexia, where your heart can't even go on. And if you don't get to where, I guess my honest answer is, unless a woman has gotten to where they got to put you in a tube and force feed you, then you should be okay. Because I just live in a world, they're gonna cheat. They're gonna want the weight off. They're gonna and then over time, over years, it becomes natural where they don't even have to try. It's just the body just clicks into some weird automatic, like, I guess, kind of like Bruce, like an addiction, and it just does whatever it knew to do before to go back to wherever it is that triggers some type of form of happiness or content into that body. I can't explain the psyche on that, you guys. I'm the one, I be trying to figure it out myself, but I do recognize it when it's going on, and I do call a spade a spade. And I digress on that.
Salute, man. Thanks for your commentary on that. Let me ask you, Kiara, have you seen any parents come to you with their kids, or you know what I mean, trying to make weight, like especially like daughters and stuff like that, you know what I mean, trying to make weight, or they find that they like beach situation, you know, her daughter was a gymnast, you know what I'm saying? Have you seen any parents come into your office with this situation?
Not parents whose kids are involved in sports and they're trying to make weight for a particular sport. More so, it has gotten to that point where it is unhelpful and the kids are actually being threatened by their coaches that they can no longer continue unless they get their weight up. And so the piece of, I mean, and thank you, Beach, for sharing. And I'm sorry that, you know, it's just some of those experiences, because the reality is that for some people, they are able to have that, like you were saying, that psyche where they can bounce back per se. And some people cannot. And that is where it becomes very dangerous, is that some people cannot bounce back. And so it then becomes a point of dangerous territory that they have to, you know, tread in, because, oh, society is telling me I have to be this way. And my body and my doctor are saying that that's not sustainable for me. And so it really also is based off of people have a natural weight that their body is supposed to fluctuate in. And when we start to mess with that, that is when things start to kind of go haywire per se.
Well, if you take take what Beach said earlier, like, I mean, beyond overseas, beyond professional, you take the Olympics, that's the highest form of athletic ability right there. You're at the top, you're at the pinnacle right there. That's it. You can't get no higher than the Olympics, because you represent the United States. So let me ask you, Beach, did you run into anybody saying that, you know what I mean, your daughter need to do this or your daughter need to do that, whatever the case may be? Do you run into any situation like that?
And we're not doing that. And it was like, I guess we're taking a break, and by break means we might not,
moving on,
we're not
right,
coming back. Yeah. Right. She has leaner muscle. The workout part, you know, but lean, you got the lean muscle, and then you got the hulked out muscle. And I already know that, well, hold on, after this, you know, we got two talents here. We got gymnastics, then we got the piano. Now you can do both, but I already know, okay, the chances of us already making it to the Olympics and you being a gold medal, like, that's not even on our issue. I got her in there. I knew was for training. Everything else, I'm like, we had her talking like that wasn't her dream to go to the Olympics and go that far in nationals. Like, we're just here. I'm like, man, getting those leg lifts, like, they really have to do a lot. Them girls be going in harder than adults. I couldn't do that. Like, they go hard because you have to, and their conditions starting at 3 or 4. Them little girls, they have some of us looking like, what type of what is this? I always said it's a machine. The body really is a machine, but when I saw at some point, I'm like, hold on, you know, here's little so-and-so, her mom, you know, she wants her to do better on ball. She got her lifting weights, and I'm looking at how the body's going to change and inform, and I'm looking at the age when you went from, okay, well, now you don't look like a grown woman. Now your body looking like, I don't want that, you know. After that, what are you supposed to do? Muscle's going to go to turn to fat, you know, that's not going to fit you. Oh, gosh. So I unless you're in it for something long term and you realize, you know, this is what you're going to look like and you're fine with that, I already knew I'm not willing to do the weights. I'm not willing to bulk her out. I could see when her body was changing, and I'm like, all right, those shoulders are, you know, I could see the proportion. I'm like, okay, she's a little strong, but not really, you know, not too much. I already kind of knew, okay, when we get to the point where I got to pick one or the other, I'm going to let the gym go. Even if it's just for a long break, and I happen to never come back, I'll keep my place, you know, you get to keep your spot and all that. And you just, on a break. People do that all the time. You can come back, or you just may not come back. I kind of knew looking at her body, like, this was going to be an issue. And this wasn't, me going in wasn't realizing like this difference. Okay, ballet would have been preferred. That would get you the tone I'd like. That would keep a healthy body image. But she was not coordinated for ballet, which she was more built for the gym and climbing and all those things. So I'm not going to I knew I wasn't going to be able to give her a solid 10, 11 years and not look at her body and it's already there. It's already formed. You can't go back and undo some things. At the minimum, it'll turn to fat, and which the muscle will go a little bit to fat, but then the fat, once after if you're young enough, it'll come back and your body will be that of what a little girl's body should be. And then from there, they should pick up, they'll go on. And if you've given them, if they got decent enough habits, they're not going to just turn into a complete opposite of what you started off with. So I don't want to say if I manipulated the process, but I definitely was, my motivation was healthy body image. I was ever going in with, yeah, we're going to dominate, we're going to win. So I guess it just depends on what you're going in it for. That's what I was going in for. And she did. I like where she is now, but as a person and as her talents, I'm happy with that. There's a lot more that could go into this conversation. I don't want it to take it over, but I hope I answered. Didn't just call me out on just a specific question.
Well, I just want to correct one. I just want to correct one thing that that you said. That other than that, you Gucci'd them up. It's just that muscle don't turn to fat. It just actually loses mass through muscle atrophy.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it just give the appearance of like it's flabby and stuff like that. So it just loses tone.
I didn't know the way to say. Yeah, I didn't know the right way. The politically correct way to say it. But to me, it just like, oh, you're a little jiggly. But you're saying it turns into. Can you say that again for me?
Yeah, you don't lose muscle. Muscle don't turn into fat. You know what I'm saying? It just loses mass through muscle atrophy. You know what I'm saying? So the tone muscle, it just seems flabby, but it don't turn to fat. That's all. Other than that, you're good.
So what's the process? Do you mind if I ask you just real quick? What's the process after it does that? Then it comes back and you can see the muscle that was already there anyway, but it's just in a different form. What is that called? Is there a name for that where it goes from muscle to what you said, muscle atrophy, and then it goes back to if you did have, muscles up under there, defined muscles, because you can be under that, it's still some muscle. What is that? Right. Is that a process?
Well, that boils down to dieting. You know what I'm saying? And and being just consistent. Like if you have a consistent regimen in the gym or working out and combine that with dieting and stuff like that, then you'll see that muscle tone come back. You know what I'm saying? So it don't lean muscle. And I, you know what, beat you right, because I credit infomercial for this. You know what I mean? I want to develop those long, lean muscle bellies and all that good shit. When the last time you seen fat muscle? You see what I'm saying? All muscle is lean. You know what I'm saying? But infomercials is notorious for saying that to the public, and then we picking that up. But all muscle is lean. It's just that, again, you just lose muscle through muscle atrophy. You know what I'm saying? So it gives the appearance of being like, fat, but it's just like flabby tone muscle and stuff like that. But it's still there. So with proper dieting and then a consistent workout routine, shit, you good.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, let me see.
I had a question for Kiara. Wait, don't end. I want to ask her something that was on the PowerPoint. Can I get her up here? Because I know I think I've asked you and you were like, I don't know about that. You need to ask Kiara. She's here now.
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I put in the chat earlier. I was like, I really want to ask her. I don't know if this is something she even's like, I'm not touching that, or I'm not. I would like to know about body dysmorphic disorder. How to know when it's definitely there, or people just using BDD like as whatever. I really would like to know, or just a little brief, your opinion on that, and how, whatever you can give, I'll take it, girl. I'll take it. I'll mute up so you can do it.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So, body dysmorphic disorder is not something that I have seen a lot of just in my practice that I have worked with thus far. But from what I do know about body dysmorphic disorder is that it is the like the inability to see your body or a perceived part of your body or your appearance in a certain way. And so what that means is that, all right, if I am looking at my face, then I can feel like maybe my nose is a certain way. And in reality, that's not how my nose is. But every time I look at my face, I see that my nose is this way. And so because every time I look at my face, I see that my nose is this way, I become fixated on that. And so I then am trying to put on a lot of makeup, maybe to try to like contour my nose or change my nose to look a certain way. Or I may try to get certain cosmetic procedures and those types of things so that my nose can be fixed or look a certain way, the way that I'm looking for it to look. The thing about that is that with body dysmorphic disorder is that even when you get to that point of, okay, I've gotten the cosmetic surgery, like this should make my nose look better. Oh, I don't know. Like, oh, now I notice something else with my nose, or oh, now I notice something with my eyes. Oh, and so the thing about this body dysmorphia is that there is a constant, almost like a picking apart, as you will, of your appearance or the way that a person looks. And so then I'm comparing myself to other people or to certain, models or those types of things, or other people in the gym, or I'm avoiding hanging out with people or taking pictures. No, because then they're going to notice my nose, then they're going to notice my body, all these things. And so the piece with body dysmorphia is that you see a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression, those types of things, and other mental health disorders underneath that, because there is a perception of flaws that a person feels like they have. And so because I perceive myself to be flawed in this way, I'm constantly fixated on that. And so then, I can't, like I was saying, I can't take pictures. I can't hang out with my friends. I can't go to these people or those types of things until I get it fixed. But even when people feel like they get it fixed or it has been fixed, it still doesn't feel like it's fixed. Okay, now there's something else that's wrong with it. I need to change it this way. All those other things that you see when it comes to body dysmorphia. That is a clip notes version. Did that make sense? Or did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Okay. That was good, because I guess we're all tying to vanity. Okay, so on the way in, and this will be the last one, how would it be for someone like you got, let's say I'm looking in the mirror, mm-hmm. and I'm just beating myself up like, oh my gosh, you're so big, I'm so bad, look at this. I like the people who are like looking in the mirror and seeing a completely huger person, but the reality of it is like, you're not. Mm-hmm. What in the psyche is that coming in? Or vice versa, someone looking in the mirror like seeing, maybe then a slimmer person, when it's like, that's not you, that's not what you look like either. You like both sides, but especially, I guess, well, yes, both would be considered disorder, because if you're thinking you're smaller but you're bigger, you're not doing yourself any service. And when does that stop? And if you're and vice versa. So what is that? Is there any advice for that, or do people just got to recognize you can't be trusted with what you see? You're going to have to go about what someone else is telling you, or really, or whatever, because what you see may not even be anywhere close, which is what the BDD is for. Anything with that with the body, because I've noticed that more with the weight. I know the people with face now and all these cosmetic things, a lot of them have it with the face, which usually turns into something too. They're going to get the whole body too, at some point. But I know I've done it. I do it all the time. I see something way different, unless on a couple of rare occasions, unless I think I'm on my peak moments where I feel or know for a fact this is good, or I thought it was. Look, no, maybe I thought I was, and someone took a picture and tore it apart and was like, no, this was too skinny, you underweight, bones poking. I'm like, well, I thought I looked good. And then pictures where I thought I'm beating myself up like, oh my gosh, I'm huge, whatever. And then someone is like, what are you talking about? Are you okay? Do you need glasses? So I'll use myself for an example. I have to use other people. Any help or suggestions or resources to go to look, to read and see, how to psych yourself out of that, or just know to, like, don't trust nothing you think you see or what you're telling yourself, because it's not credible. You can't trust your own thoughts aren't credible. You're beating yourself up and tearing yourself down or building yourself up unnecessarily. If there's a way or a resource, how to just completely get out of that mindset, someone or where to start, I'm open to that, and I can share that with other people I know who do the same thing. And I
Yes, so definitely therapy, of course, is such a big one. There are certain types of therapy that will help. One of those is being able to look at the thinking patterns and then working through, just some of those negative or unhelpful thinking patterns and figuring out, all right, how do we work with someone to kind of correct that thinking or help to not engage in the compulsive actions that come along with it. So if I'm looking, how can I stop looking at myself in the mirror 30 times a day? Or how can I stop thinking that, oh, my body actually looks like this, or, oh, this isn't how I really look, those types of things. Being able to engage in kind of like an exposure type of thing. So again, this comes with therapy because we want to do so gradually. We don't want to then say, all right, well, you think you look this way, let's look in the mirror and actually look at how you really look. But doing so gradually is another type of thing, or just exposing people slowly to how is it that you truly look, and what is it that you say about yourself or you see, and then what's your reality, those types of things. Being able to, depending on if it's you or your friends or those types of things, like how do we engage in honest conversation with each other? So, all right, how can I say, hey, y'all, I'm thinking that this is the way my forehead looks today or the way my nose looks today. And we don't want people in our circle that are going to be like, yeah, girl, your nose is big. Like, we don't want people in our circle that's going to say that, but having people who can help to support us. And so, hey, I see that that's really concerning for you. What about your nose feels big today, or whatever those things are. And so helping to have people that can help support you in that way. Good resources are things like the National Eating Disorder Association. Things like looking into certain support groups. So there's another support group that's called the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness. Their website has really good information. Being able to look into, other facilities, or going to counseling and letting the person know, hey, this is what I'm really struggling with. These are what my thoughts are about. But looking into body image, like positive body image, things like that. There's a Body Dysmorphic Disorder Foundation. So it's BDD, B as in boy, D as in dog, foundation.org. Looking up that, being able to just figure out those types of things, because again, it's about recognizing, all right, how do I not only recognize that I may have these unhelpful thoughts, but then I don't want to beat myself up about it. That's not our goal. Our goal is not to beat yourself up about it. The goal is not to say, oh, well, I just shouldn't trust anything that I think or anything that I say to myself, because that's not the goal either. Now we're going to the other extreme. And so it's about being able to just figure out what that balance looks like.
Awesome. That's amazing. And that last word you said gave me a little bit of peace of mind. When you said extreme, I can tell you this, anybody, I can only relate to the women's side. When it comes to eating disorders and death, which, like they got sites, just like they have these resources like you gave out to go to for help. They got Bulimia, anemia.com, which is Anna for the anorexia and then Mia for the bulimia. They actually have this operative full throttle for girls who want to go and find out how to be better anorexics and how to be better bulimia. I said, oh my gosh. So this is a serious situation that, those sites have been going for years. Anemia.com, like how someone, I don't even know how they thought they cannot combine anorexia and bulimia, but that's how serious some people are about. Absolutely not. I'm going to be, they go in, some like how it can sneak up on people. Most people think, oh, they fell into a eating order. Some people straight up run into it like, no, I'm going to be anorexic. I'm going to do whatever it takes because I can't deal with the idea of being even so much as having some weight on you. So that's good that you gave resources for the good, because they sure out there giving them girls all the resources for the bad. This is how to stay full. This is how to manipulate the scale. Take this many diuretics. Go to doctor prescribing stuff to help fluctuate out. Like there's more of them helping promote how to stay unhealthily at a weight versus, look, let's get you some resources and figure out the right way to do it, because nobody wants to do it the right way. And they know already you're going to be an extremist if you're that serious about it. And that's exactly what people do to attain the weak goals. They're going to be doing some extreme things that a lot of folks wouldn't even think to do. And so I appreciate that last final word. And from there, I'll let you guys have the show back. Thank you so much, Kiara. I'll be trying to plug into wherever you are and go to some of those too and see what I can. I jotted a couple of them down, and I can share these with some people and continue my works and see what I can do to help, including for my very own self. Because like I am too, I don't jump into things that I can't relate to. I have my part too. I have to own myself accountable, because I'm like, well, I'm trying to tell y'all to do this, and I'm over here eating a kid's meal. So you see, I got my own guilty things where it's like, how am I going to tell you to do that? Look at my plate. This clearly don't say, you're trying to have an adult plate. So I have to hold myself accountable too for the very not great. To say a bad eating habit is an understatement, but over decades, you end up conditioning yourself to, your body will actually get adjusted to, like, you'll be surprised how little you could survive on. And I'm going to end there, guys. Sure, y'all go with it. Thank you so much, Big Duke, for letting me up here. I'm in the crowd listening.
All right. Salute,
Thank
man.
you.
That's what we do, man. That's what we do right there. Appreciate that, Kiara. That good back and forth right there. That's what we need to do. But that's how it's done, man. That's how it's done here, guys, at the Four Quarter Talk, man. I appreciate Kiara stopping in the building. You know what I'm saying? If you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them. Email me at fourquartertalk, you know what I'm saying, at gmail.com. And then I bring them forward to Kiara, and we can sit there and post it on the show. So, Kiara, go ahead on and give your closing thoughts so we can get up out of here. I got to do some work.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say that, someone brought up a good piece in the chat, is that with eating disorders, there are other mental disorders that are also present. Absolutely. And so we do see things like depression, trauma, anxiety, OCD. We see all those things as well. And the reality is that we treat those. And also we then also need to make sure that we need to treat the eating disorder as well. And so if you know someone that is struggling with a disorder, eating disorder, or if you yourself feel like you have more questions about it, yes, like Big Duke said, please feel free to reach out. But then also make sure that you are plugging into websites and looking up resources like National Eating Disorders Association. That is a huge resource for people. They have so much information on their website. They have things that can help you to, take tests and those types of things to see, okay, do I really feel like I'm struggling with this, or what might I actually be struggling with, and how can I take it to someone in my area? National Association of Anorexia Nervosa and Associated Disorders, the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness, being able to just look into these things again. How can you get support outside of just this right here? Because we can give you the information, we can start the conversation, but it's really up to you to continue that and get the assistance and the help that you need. And it's out there, so.
Facts, man. Oh, in fact, Des, Monica, you're going to see a huge difference with that. I took out sugar in my coffee and dairy. You know what I'm saying? You're going to find a major difference in that right there. So not saying that you can't add sugar into that, but you're going to, as far as health-wise, you know what I'm saying? If you can manage it, drink straight black coffee, you'll definitely see a big difference in that right there. So with that being said, man, that's how we do it here, guys. Again, man, if you have any questions, Let me see. Great show, Kiara and Big Duke. Stay healthy, fam. Let's see. Oh, Charlton. Okay, cool. With that being said, man, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Kiara, stay in the building. Everybody else, enjoy your weekend, man. That's my time. Big Duke all fire, no smoke, man. You know what time it is. Peace.